I've seen wills that were made 35 years ago. The postal code was 2 digits. So I tell people now, in terms of wills, you should treat it like your iOS or your app. If you don't update it, I can't even use my SingPass.
Yes.
So your will is the same because life changes, life stages and things like that.
Hello and welcome to CNA's Money Talks podcast. I'm Andrea Heng, and I'm sure that, like me, you don't enjoy arguing with your loved ones. Fighting over anything with your family is distressing enough. But when it comes to assets, it can be even uglier and more painful. Well, I have a sobering fact for you. An average of 10 families a year fight over properties here in Singapore, and that's according to media reports. The same reports say that there have been at least 130 such cases in the past decade alone. So what can you do then to protect yourself in a similar situation? Today, I'm asking Lim Fung Peen. He's Director and Head of Family and Private Wealth Practice Group at Yuen Law LLC. Hi, Peen. Good morning and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Andrea. I'm happy to be here.
Now, you must have seen many cases of families fighting over property or assets in your career. What's the one that's stood out to you the most so far?
Instances where infighting in a family over property, how a property should be sold. So one very common and increasing trend we have is what is called forced sale kind of applications in court. A and B are co-owners of a property, could be a condo, could be a HDB or landed, and A wants out and B wants to stay. So it could be parent and child, or it could be two siblings. So in the past 10 years, I've done close to 10 cases already. So it could be like one a year. So that's a common scenario. And when a party wants to move on, the party that wants to move on will then apply to the High Court.
Are you concerned?
It is. And I think one of the concerning points is that how did the family land up in this kind of situation?
Exactly.
So in my conveyancing practice, which means when people buy and sell property, I as a lawyer try to help them be mindful about long-term arrangements, right? So in how you buy property matters. What we lawyers call the manner of holding, whether it's joint tenancy or tenants in common, can affect the nature of the holding, can affect the parties for the long term.
And holding is basically legalese for ownership.
That's right, co-ownership.
Okay.
So when we have two people and you have divergent views, that complicates things. So for example, HDB, some people think, oh, very convenient. Our two people who are a bit, I won't say elderly, but past middle age, and then when they buy a HDB flat, then they conveniently ask their single child to join them.
Right. Many cases like that. I have friends
Very
in that
common
situation.
Yeah. So and that single adult child says, okay lah, we are Asian, right? So we help our parents lah, can get the loan, that kind of thing. And then very commonly that single person finds someone special and then they want to apply for their BTO. Then there's a situation here. And that's very unfortunate because the child has every right to remove his name so that he's eligible for his BTO, right?
Yes.
And that's one very common scenario. So the family there thought, it's convenient for financing to get the adult child in, but they didn't think, hey, what if
something happens down the road, right?
Yeah. So along familial arrangements like this is very common for refinancing. But another situation, of course, is writing of wills.
Something that we've discussed here on the Money Talks podcast. Singaporeans are unaware of the importance of having a will written out because it really does help mitigate some of these issues that you're talking about right now.
Well, part of the reason why I took up your offer for this podcast was because of that. I've written 3 books. My first book was about the LPA, my second one is about probate, and my third one is about family matters. In all my prefaces of my books, I say that the average Singaporean has a very oversimplified view of things.
Right.
I like to put it that way.
Okay.
It's maybe partly because we are a new society, and to put it politely, sometimes we have this immigrant mentality. So, if you look at American culture, even like New York City, if you look at the Greeks and the Italians and even the Chinese, they're very frugal. No,
Yes.
what's the hallmark of immigrant mentality?
Yes.
Frugality.
Right.
So why spend more money? You want everything is simple. And if you look at a lot of ads, a lot of requests that my team gets, you say, I want to do a simple will.
Yes.
Have you ever asked a doctor, I want a simple operation? No, you let the doctor decide, right?
Yes,
Whether this
yes.
operation is simple or not.
Yeah.
Right?
It's not up to you.
Yeah, it's not really up to you.
Yes.
Even now, with patients and doctors, doc, I want antibiotics. Many of my doctor friends go, who made you the doctor? So that's why I come back to your point. Creating awareness and understanding is very important. And in my area of work, the clients that I really appreciate are not the high net worth ones alone, but it happens to be that not all, but a lot of good family, I call it good families, they understand the value of doing a comprehensive will, not a simple will. Let's take the scenario of the average Singaporean. 80% of us live in HDB flats. Now, if somebody in their 50s says, I want to finally do my will, I want to do a simple will, I just want to give my HDB flat to my 2 children.
Yeah.
2 is enough. So give my 2 children.
Yes.
Boleh lah.
Yeah. Done.
Done lah.
Yeah.
Right? Simple will.
How difficult?
How difficult can it be?
Yeah. How
Why do I
complicated
need
does
to
it
pay
need
a
to be?
lawyer
Correct.
$600 for that?
Yes.
Or whatever, $100. And it gets even more complicated with private flats, private property, because let's say father wants to give to 2 children again. And then the 2 children already have their own HDB flats, so they can't inherit this private property.
Yes.
Depending on scenarios.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a bungalow.
Yeah.
Right, so one has to buy the other one out. That incurs BSD,
Yeah.
potentially ABSD, all these
Yes.
taxes.
Yes.
There was no planning.
Right.
So I have even moneyed families that the grandfather leaves an $8 million, $10 million, $50 million property, and it's given to 16 beneficiaries.
16.
Yeah,
That's,
even
my.
grandchildren have the 1/16 share in the car. It's quite of a it's tautia lah. It's a minefield.
Yes.
So there was not enough planning, and in terms of wills also, I've seen wills that were made 35 years ago. The postal code was 2 digits. So I tell people now, in terms of wills, you should treat it like your iOS or your app. If you don't update it, I can't even use my SingPass.
Yeah.
So your will is the same because life changes, life stages and things like that.
And not just your life, but I think the environment around you changes as well. Laws change,
Exactly.
regulations
Tax
change,
changes,
tax
yeah.
changes as well. Yeah. So I'm curious about that case where, you have parents leaving their child in the will, or I'll just split it with the 2 children or 16 beneficiaries, what have you. So what would your advice be then in those scenarios? Let's say you catch it before the person dies, the owner of the property dies. What would your advice be then?
What's the most important thing to you? What's the objective? Or you go to the car showroom, right? What do you need the car for? What's your budget? Are you a car enthusiast or not?
Yes.
Or do you want to just go and service the car once a year, that type of fella, or what?
Yeah.
So same with your will. So I understand what you're saying. I come, a lot of ladies come to me because I think ladies are more, they want to do housekeeping, right? And I always tell men, you're very blessed if you have a wife that wants to drag you down to the law office to get advice or do up your will. How I help the clients is actually what's most important to you.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's quite normal for a person to, without advice, say, I just want to be fair. Right?
Yes.
We're Asian, right?
My parents are exactly
Yeah.
like that. I just want to be fair.
I just want
but
to be fair.
My method is
Yeah.
isn't that fair?
Yeah. And so another question I ask them is, what's most important to you besides being fair? There are certain things that I will ask them, right? That, for example, there was a grandfather, 68-year-old grandfather, who had 5 very successful children. I think he had one profession, each one lawyer, one doctor, one banker,
Wow, he
one
had
accountant,
he had the full
everything.
gamut.
Yeah, he had a full house. Right, I thought he was a very blessed man, and he had 7 grandchildren, and he in particular wanted to be fair to his children and his grandchildren. And I said, I was a much younger lawyer then, so I said, Uncle, wow, you're really blessed. And I said, do your children really need money? They said, no lah, they're all doing so well.
Yeah.
And I said, then what you really want to do with your legacy? They said, oh, actually, I want to show my grandchildren love and show them what's the importance of having a good education, right? And so long story short, he turned his whole will into creating an educational trust for his 7 grandchildren.
Wow, that's brilliant.
So going through that process, he's a smart engineer himself, 68 years old. He could have written his own will. In fact, he did send an email. But when I sat down to talk to him, he said, this is much better than my original plan.
Yeah, that's nice. What about the other side of the negotiating table, or the beneficiaries, right? Have you come into instances where even if the beneficiaries are moneyed and they're well off, they're comfortable, they still believe, no, I have a right to this piece of property. No, I have a right to this. I have a right to... It's about my right to possession, right? So how do you handle that?
That's a very good question, because these days, these kind of scenarios also are coming around. And some parents take the view of Warren Buffett and the like. You know, I've really given you stuff. And even, I think, Jackie Chan and a few others, right?
Yes.
They say, I'm not going to give my kids anything.
Yeah, because in why I asked you this question is because in my mind, and I'm going to put it quite crudely as well, you don't have to be poor to want to fight for a piece of what you think you deserve.
We just resolved this case. They were fighting over $30,000. That's it. And they fought for 1 year, and they're not rich. And we were telling them, why are you fighting? Can we help you settle this? No, on principle. It's
on principle. That's always the reason.
And then I said, okay, but principles are costly, but some people, you have to respect their decision, lah.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. But coming back to that, so I mean, at the end of the day, when an executor says, I want to just give to charity and nothing to my children. In Singapore, it's very hard to challenge, right? In Australia, in other jurisdictions, there are possible means to do it, right? But in Singapore, it's very hard to for a beneficiary to challenge and say, oh, I want a piece of the action because I'm entitled to it.
Yes.
In Singapore, there's only a law that says that if you are a dependent, so if you're handicapped or you're disabled, and also that only entitles you to maintenance to survive, not like a share, a share of the estate.
Understood.
Yeah, so I'm seeing more and more of these. Actually, you're right that they feel that they've done enough for their kids or even their grandkids, and that's it.
Let's go into the process now. The bit of the technical aspect of a property dispute. How are they first raised? I mean, how do they first come to you? And then what are the key steps you would take once that case lands on your desk?
Right. So typically, how things go in Singapore, mostly people will make inquiries to the law firm. Okay. Right. They will write in an email and then say, this is the problem. Right. I want out, or whatever it is, I want to share. So whatever the inquiry is, we normally, what a law firm would do, I think, and the proper thing to do is have a meetup and have a discussion and discuss with the client their objectives. What I would do is propose certain options. Okay. Right? And since you're asking what are the steps, one of the first options is not go to court.
Yes. I get that sense.
Yeah. One of the first options is actually to advise the client of their rights. Okay. Because some people come with misconceptions. Okay. Right? Misconceptions of what they're entitled to. Right. So some people need a reality check. Yeah, okay. Not in Singapore. You watch too much
Judge Judy. That sort of stuff.
Yes, and you'll be surprised how much of people's views are shaped by popular culture.
Oh, of course.
So the first step is always to get advisory and an assessment. Your legal advisor can just tell you, well, this is the score. This is where you stand. And then for me, I would say, oh, you have a claim or you have a case, but it is at the moment not ready. It's not strong enough. So first thing, assessment. Okay. Giving the client the options. One of the options could be to strengthen their case, gather more evidence. Okay. Right, blah, blah, blah. Sure. But finally you reach a stage where again, it's not go to court. It's to write a letter to the other side and say, make a proposal. Say, look, this is the situation. This is my stand. I think this is a fair proposal. So I pay you this, or you pay me this, and we do this, or what. This is how we do things.
Right. So it's essentially mediation up to a degree. So at what point then does it end up in court?
Okay, it's not quite mediation. What we call it is negotiation.
Negotiation.
So you write a proposal letter,
right,
and then wait for the other side to respond. Most lawyers will actually go through this process of negotiation by letter, at least 1 round, 2 rounds. When that doesn't work, and then we have to see. We have to see. You mentioned mediation in family justice court and in the state courts. There are court mediations, right, which is free, which is very good.
Okay.
That means the court doesn't charge for it.
Right.
But that's because I think our courts really believe in mediation, and since I've been in practice for 28 years, there's always been this, and it's been going from strength to strength. So mediation, I'm a firm believer in it, because I think mediation is also a way for the mediator to give parties a reality check, because everyone thinks their case is bound to win, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Is that the ultimatum stage before it goes to court, that mediation?
Well,
thing?
yes. If there's a breakthrough in mediation, like mediation, is it one day and that's it? But court mediation, normally it's just not one day.
Yeah.
If there's hope, there can be a second round. And that's where the court mediator, normally a district judge, will facilitate the parties coming to a middle ground.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
But private mediation usually it's just one off.
Right.
They try to finish. If it starts at 9, they'll try to finish by 9 p.m.
Wow. What kind of cost are we looking at here from start to end of that entire process that you talked about here? I mean, and which one is going to be the most expensive part of the process?
It will be anything from $2,000 to $5,000 just to start the negotiating. But when you pass that, when you go to court, it starts anywhere from 8 to... It starts at 8 because the for sale application goes to the High Court. Yeah, so that's different as well. It can range anything from 8 to 10, 12K and go all the way to 40, 50K. And this is in the High Court.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that is the reason why when you usually go to the High Court, it's usually about a condo or a landed piece of property.
Because then the stakes are higher. It's a higher ticket item, right?
So if it's in an arena of divorce in the family justice court, then that's where another very big area happens as well. And it's likewise also for my cases, a lot of inquiries, the nature is, except for children, of course, when I get inquiries about children, I meet the father or the mother for the first time, we talk about children, who are going to get the children. But the next big thing, in fact, some people talk about the
house before the children.
Yeah, because to be fair, sometimes it's not an issue that the kids are going to go with the mom anyway. So now they're worried about their HDB flat or their condo or their private property. So, and then there again, even in family justice court, you're trying to deal with it. Yeah, so it's one of the big factors in the divorce proceedings.
Right. In just going back to the cost portion of the question, do the lawyers' fees come up to a lot in these cases as well?
It can be. It's like, it depends on, for me anyway, it depends on, because if both lawyers are trying to be therapeutic, if both lawyers are trying to be collaborative, and if both lawyers want to keep on negotiating, but one of their clients, I want to fight. You can't do anything. The lawyer has to say, I have to respect the client's view and advance his case. So some people just don't lend themselves to mediation. It says fight means fight.
Right.
So it's
and
very...
the lawyer has to do what the client wants.
I mean, even against the lawyer's advice. They just say, no, or another way, some people are interesting. They say, I just want to let the judge decide.
Wow.
For some people, I think it's just, I don't want to decide, so I let the judge decide.
Oh, I see.
If you have a person who says, I don't want to negotiate with you, I don't want to consider your proposal, I just want to both of us present everything to the judge and let the judge decide. So sometimes in mediation it's difficult, and I see my counterpart lawyer having a challenge because his client or her client doesn't want to decide. And he turns to her, you decide for me. He says, I can't decide for you. I can't decide for you. Of course, it's wonderful that if two people can compromise and just say, okay, and that can be done very early on at negotiation stage of through letters. Then.
Yeah. It's a really tricky conversation to have, but one that I was really glad to have had with you, Peen. So thanks very much for sitting in this chair.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and for being on the Money Talks podcast. Listeners, we hope this episode provides the steps you need to take in order to do just that, to make sure that you and your loved ones are protected from future disputes. Hopefully none at all. As they say, sharing is caring. So if you know anyone who might benefit from this episode, please send it their way. Share feedback with us as well. Money Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, and Me Listen as well. You can leave us a rating there as well. Thank you to the team, Tiffany Ang, Junaini Johari, Joanne Chan, Saya Wind, Ili Mansour. I'm Andrea Heng, and this has been CNA's Money Talks podcast. Thank you very much for listening.